Wjzz Cool Tv with his guest, Larry Hightower.
No, my guess ain't Larry Hightower. GQ. GQ is my guess.
Okay, GQ.
GQ.
I messed that up.
GQ, yeah, it's all right.
Okay,
It's
GQ.
you
We're
got
here with
retired police
GQ.
department guy, gang squad guy.
Okay.
GQ.
Okay,
Sitting
got
right
it now.
here.
GQ.
Yeah, it's all
Okay,
right.
Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former conqueror of Olympic track champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, and author of 8 books available at Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. He's also a recipient of the Detroit City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. Dr. Telford was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email address is drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. That's drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. So stay with us, and we are happy to present Dr. John Telford and his guest.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that introduction. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars as sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because we have got GQ in the studio today. GQ, that former DPD guy who worked with gangs in Detroit, which was something I did too in the old days. GQ. And Larry Hightower recommended that we interview GQ, and that's how Gloria got messed up. She thought we were introducing Larry Hightower. I'm trying to get Larry Hightower on this show because he's a very smart guy and he's a good guy. So Larry, you're going to be getting a copy of this videotape, and I'm going to keep pushing you to come on the show. One of these days I might be successful, but today we have got GQ in the station today. GQ, and I'm gonna recite a poem that I recite quite frequently about my guests. If my guest reminds me of this poem, and this poem reminds me of my guest, which it does today. The poem is The Values of Verse. Verse comes to us by pen or voice. We thus can always take our choice. Let me be also sure to mention that verse will gain us righteous vengeance via deft poetic arts that can topple oligarchs. Verse will clearly, plainly lay out what we poets dare to say out. Like gentle mewling lambs, no more, but rather with a fearsome roar, as from some cacophonic corps of lions. And we have got a young lion in the person of GQ in the station today, and I'm calling him young, even though he's in his 50s, because to me, I got a son about 5 years older than him, so you guys are all kids to me. But GQ, welcome to the John Telford Detroit Show with Gloria Cunningham.
That verse, that was beautiful.
You like that verse?
Yeah. What's that, from Kipling?
No, I wrote it.
Oh, you wrote it.
Yeah,
oh, I thought
I'm
it
a
was from
poet.
Woodyard.
See, I'm the poet in residence.
Oh, man, I have to get that book.
I'm the poet in residence, and I don't know if Roger's got this focus on me right now, but I'm the poet in residence, and this is my most recent poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. Do I have this in the right place? Good. Okay. A Detroit poetic epic, And it's about the athletes that I coached or I teamed with on the U.S. team, or that are at Wayne State University or the Detroit Track Club or Old Northwestern High or Denby High, and it's about about my civil rights activism, because I've been a civil rights activist my entire life. And it also, I talk about, those are the parts of the title, athletes and activism, athletes and activism. But the apple boughs part is from a poem by Dylan Thomas, the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. He started a poem that said, "Now as I was young and easy under the apple boughs," and it was about his days growing up in ancient Wales, back in the first part of the 20th century, Dylan Thomas, about his days with the young ladies. And I got a lot of young ladies who were part of my life on the cover of this book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs. So if you call me at 313-460-8272, and come over to the River House, order a book, order it on Amazon.com, come over to the River House, I'll sign it for you. River House at 8900 East Jefferson. So we are interviewing GQ in the station today on WJZZ. And GQ, tell us a little bit about your background.
Native Detroit. I grew up on the west side and went to Northwestern High School.
Me too, for 2 years.
How ironic is that, for sure? I feel like I need to be interviewing you, the illustrious Dr. John.
Well, you come and get a show on this station, or get a podcast.
That's in the making. History's in the making. I appreciate you.
Interview me. I love to talk.
That's fine.
As long as I'm still above the grass, I'm going to keep doing it. But tell us about you. We want to know about you.
Born and raised in Detroit, of course, went to Northwestern High School. Shortly thereafter, I graduated from there and went to the United States Navy.
All right.
Yeah, 19-year veteran.
Anchors away,
my boy,
yeah.
Right.
Oh,
that was the Denby theme song, too, because my second high school was Denby. I got put out of Northwestern and got sent to live with my father in that neighborhood. Anchors away, Denby, fight for your fame. Cheer for the blue and gold, and we will win this game. Rah, rah, rah.
That's it. Real man is a Navy man. Navy man is a real man.
Man.
But, see, I wasn't so into being a patriotic for my country. I was 18 years old, really not really sure exactly what I wanted to do.
That was a good place to be, though, in the Navy.
Yes.
To start to find out what you wanted
Frank
to do.
Sinatra and Bing Crosby. I saw it at 2:00 in the morning. I forgot what it was. It was a movie picture.
Anchors Away.
That's what it was.
That was a
I
film. I remember
That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I did.
Pretty
good at that too.
Edwin Denby was. They named Denby High School after Edwin Denby.
That's right.
He was Secretary of the Navy under Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
He's the FDR, great president.
Yeah, you got
one
that
of my
right.
favorite. Yeah.
One of maybe my all-time favorite.
Oh yeah.
No question. Or the only more favorite person in my mind was his wife Eleanor.
Oh yeah.
She was a great liberal. But again, we keep tell us a little bit more about yourself. You went to Northwestern.
You went to Northwestern High School, then went to the United States Navy and did a 3-year tour there, and then I came out in 1991.
Okay.
It was bad, really bad in Detroit. I came back because I had to save my mom and my younger brother.
Okay.
And Detroit has always had a violent history. It was the murder capital.
Oh yeah, we were murder capital of the world. Time and again.
Back time,
Us, Baltimore,
Yes.
some other towns right up there, but
Right.
per capita, I think we were close to
right.
number one most of the
to
time.
having probably one of the largest black cities, of course. Yeah. But I came back in 1991. Then I shortly, a couple of years, joined the Detroit Police Department in 1994.
Okay.
Yeah, and as a patrolman for 5 years, and then in 1997 I went to the Narcotics Division. That's when I was born. The name GQ.
Okay. Tell us about how you got that name.
Well, code naming, as you can see. This is Sable Meek.
Sable Meek.
Yeah, Sable and Gucci, right. So
I got this in a second. What do you call them? Second-hand store.
That's beautiful.
This, not that I'm destitute, but
no, right.
I don't like to spend a lot of money.
It's all about the man, though.
Sable.
The man
I don't know.
So anyway, we were into code names back then, and I Oh, for sure, my mother. The people just call me GQ. I don't even like my government name anymore. So, we did that, and I did that for about 7 years at the narcotics, and then I went to Gang Squad, and I spent pretty much my rest of my 20-year career there.
I had a friend, and I'm getting bad on names. He was a sergeant. I worked with gangs, one of my many jobs in my 88 years on this planet. I worked with gangs out of a police mini station on Shane when I was the director of the, what was the name of that doggone organization? I'm trying to remember the name of it. But anyway, I didn't feel real successful in that job.
What was that?
Because the kids were doing stuff I was trying to get them not to do or to stop doing.
Right.
Detroit SNAP, Safe Neighborhoods Action Plan, was the name of the group. We had a policeman station over on Shane. Real good sergeant, trying to think of his name, real tall guy, real capable with the kids. But I'm telling you too much background on me.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, tell us about your days with the Gang Squad.
Well, yeah, I 2004, I went there 2004 and spent majority of my career there. As I mentioned, 2003, Detroit fell upon a federal consent decree. Past practices and policy failures were violating people's rights.
Okay.
If you can remember that. But I worked through that. It didn't stop us in terms of doing our day-to-day work with guns, confiscating guns and gangs and drugs, really. So it's the whole history of Gang Squad. 1975, the late, great Coleman Young, under his direction, we had a gang problem. And pretty much it was not your traditional gangs, but it was drug gangs back then. The Young Boys Incorporated. And he decided it was time to do something.
Was that the Curry Brothers?
No, that was Butch Jones and Timmy Peoples.
Yeah, this buddy of mine,
Peoples and all that.
an attorney, Robert Pumpy, handled the Curry Brothers. I don't know if you know Robert Pumpy.
But that's traditionally Detroit. It was drug gangs, not
Yeah.
your traditional like L.A. or Chicago.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Younger, he was a deputy chief then, and shouts out to you, Jimmy. For sure, I hadn't talked to him in a minute, but
drugs haven't been new in the city.
No, always.
I was dating a lady who worked, who danced on 12th Street when I was only 20 years old. I was a junior at Wayne State, and the heroin got her. The heroin later. It was years later, but it got her. I mean, we've been dealing with heroin. We've been dealing with cocaine, crack cocaine. It's not just not just marijuana, but
fast lane, very very fast lane city. And it was a pilot. Detroit was a pilot for New Jack City. They came here to do the research on there, and not to. But it's a really fast lane city, and with drugs for sure. And those gangs. That's how the Gang Squad was discovered in 1975. And a hell of a unit, under Benny Napoleon as well. May God rest his soul.
Oh man, I love Benny Napoleon.
Everyone knew him personally.
Yeah,
and
he's been
on the
He's
job.
been on my I can't say the name of the show, but he's been on my radio show.
Right.
A couple of times before we lost him. We lost Benny. That was a big tragedy, man.
Yeah.
It was.
COVID got him.
Yeah,
He was helping his brother all along
COVID
the
got
way.
so
and
many
people,
good
right.
people. Trump called it a hoax, and a lot of people believed him. Benny didn't believe him, but I got him anyway. And I also got Isaac Robinson, who managed me when I was running for the school board. I got Rafer Johnson. I don't know if you're too young to remember Rafer Johnson, but he was my teammate on the U.S. Track team. He was also and I'm starting to go back on track again. Though. Let me get off.
Okay,
that.
well, let me do station
Okay.
ID. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Show live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that station identification in the same melodious voice you use when you do the commercials on that other show that shall go unnamed.
Yeah, your radio show.
Yeah, the radio show. And speaking of that radio show, I have to do what I do on that show here too. And unfortunately, I've lost a little piece of paper that I had. I don't know where it went, but I want to advertise Virginia Starkey's boutique, Miss V's boutique, which is over on East Jefferson, right around the corner from the Alger Theater at East Outer Drive. It's on East Jefferson, right around the corner from the old Alger Theater, which of course is closed now, and also right around the corner from one of the few libraries that is still open in the city of Detroit.
Is she going to be open every day through the holiday period?
I'm sure she will be, but by appointment. And I'm trying to think for the life of me, I can't remember the damn address, and I lost that. But let me say this. She can be reached by calling 313-787-1747. That's 313-787-1747. Now, she won't answer. She never answers the damn phone. But she will call you back when she sees your number on there. So call 313-787-1747, and she will call you back, and you can make an appointment to go to her boutique, because she has some really fine clothes for ladies there that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. So be sure to call Miss V, that's Virginia Starkey, Miss V, at 787-1747, which is an area code 313 in Detroit. And we are interviewing GQ, who was a stalwart on the gang squad with the DPD back in the day. And GQ, I want to introduce you. Do you know Detroit Police Commissioner Willie Burton?
Yes, sir.
Well, Willie Burton and I, matter of fact, we just went over to Marygrove, and I had to do my poetry over there, and Willie and I drove over there together, and then we went over to the Pancake House afterward over on East Jefferson. They had a good bite to eat, but Willie, a lot of times I bring him with me to talk about the police commission and their duties, because I think that the kids need to know about that. But again, let me get back to asking you this: guns, drugs, gangs in Detroit, then and now. Talk about it.
Well, back for sure in the 90s, late 90s, mid 90s, and 2000s for sure. Marijuana was outside of cocaine, outside of crack cocaine. In the 80s, it was really something prevalent back then. And when you're talking about distribution of the amounts of money, it brings violence. And in the 80s, it was terrible. I was in high school then, and it was a lot of my friends killed because the distribution of crack cocaine.
It wasn't the drug itself. It was just the money that surrounded it, and the fighting for turf. When I was a freshman at Wayne State, and I am going to tell this story. When I was a freshman at Wayne State, I was only 18 years old, down there on a track scholarship, and they had put me up in the Forest Arms apartment on Second Avenue and Forest, West Forest. And my teammates, my relay teammates used to come with me. We would smoke marijuana in my apartment. They would bring the marijuana. I was the only white runner on that black relay team that was beating everybody.
Is that right?
Yeah, with Cliff Hatcher out of Central High and Bullet Billy Smith out of Northwestern, and a guy named Ralph Williams from the island of St. Kitts. And those guys could smoke. And we were actually beating Michigan State with that relay team, but we would smoke marijuana. And I was 18 years old, and by the time I was 19, I quit. I didn't do it anymore. I never smoked it. But compared to what we're dealing with now, that in my estimation was a benign drug, and it's really been legalized.
Right, right. And they should have made that move a long time ago, taking the criminal element out of it.
Right.
But getting back to the 80s,
yeah.
And I was in high school then, and that's primarily why I really wanted to become a a police officer, particularly a narc.
Because you
And I worked
had
undercover.
lost some friends.
Well, my family, I saw them being victims of crack
Okay,
and
okay.
drugs.
Yeah.
You know, so I really wanted to. I know it sounds like we all say make a difference.
No, I mean, some of us want to and some of us don't.
Right. So, you know, that's something that I always wanted to do. I wrote a paper on it when I was 18, being a Detroit undercover. And I did that.
How do you know that's your calling? There's some people that pick professions based on some little small things. My profession was education, and I knew from age 9 that that's what I wanted to be, and that's what I still am on different platforms. But some people want to be a police officer, some of the boys, so they can carry a gun. So how do you know in your soul that you want to be a police officer and for the right reasons?
Right, and I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Cunningham. My father, may God rest his soul, he was a man, for sure. And my father, my parents were married, and he a good disciplinarian, very good disciplinarian. But I always had a way with people, talking and expressing myself and things like that, and a little nosy too. So he thought I was going to be a really good detective one day, and sure enough, he directed me kept me out of trouble. I grew up on Monterey and Dexter, in the home of the base of the YBI, Young Boys Incorporated, and he drove.
Where in Dexter? Where?
Monterey and Dexter.
Monterey,
That's
yeah,
where I
yeah.
grew up.
Yeah, over by Northwestern.
Yeah,
Right?
so you know, we're closer to Central.
Oh yeah.
It was in the '70s down there.
You didn't go to Central then?
No. I went to Northwestern.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends went to Central though.
How did you get to Northwestern if you weren't quite in that district?
Well, we moved a lot.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, so it was just fascinating to me about the drug life because
Okay.
Butch Jones and Raymond Peoples and Timmy Peoples and Herbie and all them guys, and you know they used to drive up and down the street, and I mean Corvettes and all that. It was fascinating to me about the kind of the life of it all, and you know I'm not glamorizing that at all, but it was fascinating to me that you know
It hooked a lot of young men.
Yeah,
in the
right,
wrong
right.
direction.
Yeah, but
Still doing it.
yes, and the wrong direction. Just wanted to clean that up a little bit, you know, when I come on the job and things of that nature. But the violence, and I saw that a lot of the things that we're dealing with now, John, is that there are babies of a generation during that era of crack babies.
Yeah.
And that wiped out 30 years.
Yeah.
Black men going to prison.
Mm.
People being on drugs. You know what that means when a woman is using drugs and carrying a child.
Mm-hmm.
It wiped out 30 years. And some of that is a result of what we're dealing with right now. Young mothers having young babies. Can you believe a grandmother being 40 years old?
I see it all the time.
Yeah, I worked at the Teen Mothers School. Used to be TAPEC, and they changed the name to Charles Vinson. And I knew some young people personally, and I just told them, come on over there. You can finish your education while you're 14 having this baby.
Right.
And right now today, I'm still in touch with her, and all her kids are grown now. So it's, that baby issue.
Crack is the most devilishly addictive drug I think there is.
Yes. Because of the synthetic that keeps you, it's not really the cocaine, because it's coming from the earth. We on the poppy fields, we understand that.
Yeah.
But it's the synthetic drug that's mixed with it and have you wandering all night. And somebody will, if they can't have it, they can't get it, will cause them to break into your home and steal and even to kill. So that era was really bad, right?
Cocaine. We must never legalize that ever. Crack cocaine or the pure version, you know, that the elites, you know,
Right.
been sniffing.
Right.
Matter of fact, a kid that I coached, who was a great athlete, by the way. I don't know if you probably don't remember who Spencer was, Spencer Haywood. But he
Oh,
was,
yeah, I remember him.
well, he was my probably at one time the greatest basketball player, best basketball player in the world.
Yeah.
When he was about 19. But he also, I coached him in track. You know, he was a shot putter. He could put, he threw the thing like a baseball. You know, threw about 50 feet. He could high jump 6'4". He could run. I mean, he could do anything. But he got hooked on cocaine when he was playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, and the only thing that he could think of in a championship game was getting home to snort it. And he told that story in a book that he wrote, Spencer Haywood, The Rise, the Fall, the Recovery. And I'll never forget, because Spencer came over to my house back in the 1990s, and we were going to have dinner, and my wife was a little bit late getting that on the table, and he said, Coach, I got to go to my 12-step program. He goes to his 12-step program to this day. That is how addictive that terrible drug is.
Right.
It's probably more addictive than alcohol. It's more addictive than anything.
Right. Yeah, and it causes you to do certain things, the moral part of it, yeah, so.
Absolutely.
Getting back to that. So that's why I really wanted to kind of clean that up a little bit, and of course nowadays the crack cocaine era has faded out a little bit. Not saying it does not still exist, but now it's opioids.
Oh yeah. Oh God, they're killing people right and left.
And the youth they're experimenting with that with the aid of alcohol and marijuana and those type of things, and just the perils of that.
Larry wrote some stuff. Larry Hightower wrote some stuff to me that he suggested that I asked you, and one of the things that he asked me to ask you was about how you recruited, when you were working on the gang squad, how you recruited informants.
Oh yeah, that
without having the kids, call each other snitch and this and
right.
that,
I always would approach, and I'm glad that you asked me that, because I was known for cultivating informants. Pretty good at it too. Mm-hmm. Not only to have anyone to tell, but it's our civic duty. If you know something, John, about a rapist, about someone that's breaking into my mother's house, your mother's house,
you want to prevent somebody else from getting raped.
It's your civic duty. Now, it's the pressure sometimes, the pressure and the money. And when I say that, the pressure is if you're in a real bad situation and you're being locked up, of course, if you put a little pressure on someone, they may break. It's not really telling on them, but oftentimes they say, hey man, tell me a story. Tell me any story. Well, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. This is what how they responded.
Have you seen any positives from people offering a reward if you tell?
Yes.
You see these signs, but we never hear that, okay, so-and-so did give the information or how they found this killer.
Well, sometimes it's anonymous, but
and they can't tell who necessarily.
Right, it's an effective tool, just to offer money. But oftentimes people will say things to lessen the cases, offenses.
Okay. But people do respond with that little.
Oh yeah,
we'll give
listen.
You $1,000. We'll give you $5,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because definitely you know what's going on. You know a lot about your next door neighbor. You know a lot about what's going on in your community, right? Mm-hmm. So the feds, state police. That's always been a bargaining tool to do that with sources. But a lot of my informants were because of drug offenses.
I'm looking at some of the stuff that Larry asked me to ask you, and there's something here that kind of stands out. 2 words: street knowledge. And he calls street knowledge the quote real estate unquote of violent crime. Talk a little bit about street knowledge as it relates to you, as it relates to your background, as it related to the friends that you came up with.
Yeah.
And how it facilitated your solving problems with the Detroit Police Department gang squad.
Well, growing up at in that era of the 70s, my father and my mother, may God rest both of their souls, experiment with drugs. I come from two huge families. One, my father, 13 brothers and sisters, and my mother, 12. Had uncles in the life of the gang of drugs. And urban America, you know, rats, roaches, that sort of thing. I was introduced to that.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You gotta have cats in the neighborhood where I
Oh,
grew
yeah.
up.
So,
they had a
you know.
whole core of cats on 16th and McGraw.
Right. So my thoughts about life was firsthand, opposed to someone that didn't grow up like I did. I know when somebody's BSing me, you know. So I saw a lot of that things, and my friends, you know, a lot of them had succumbed to perils of drugs and things of that nature and stuff like that. So I've always been street savvy to know, but just be kind and appreciate people, and people would appreciate you too, you know.
Okay, you are watching the Dr. John Telford Show, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
And thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that station identification in your
You better quit.
exceptionally melodious voice. And we are interviewing GQ, a former member of the DPD gang squad in Detroit. And you know, GQ has said that he is a missionary for righteousness. And I want to read a quote from the book of Matthew. Blessed be those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed be those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be fulfilled. I'm not so sure they shall be fulfilled. I would say that they must be fulfilled in this time of Trumpism and re-Trumplicans, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about what this man who is a guest on my show today, GQ, and that was his street name, that was his gang squad name. He has pronounced himself, and I see that he is a fighter for righteousness. And I commend you for doing that, GQ. You know, I'm trying to do the same damn thing. You know,
I'm
because
quite sure,
you know, we've got because there's a lot of wrongnessness out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I'm not just talking about Donald Trump and the
Right.
Trumplicans and all the stuff that we're going to be subjected to if he gets reelected to the presidency, which he may do. You know, even though I think he'll probably be in jail the time he gets reelected. But tell us a little bit about you. You worked on some mayoral campaigns.
Yes.
So give us some background in that regard.
Yes. You know, the being in law enforcement, you meet a lot of people, and I'm not so political, John. I mean, I you know what moved.
You gotta be. I'm not political.
Well, it's
either,
personal
but
affairs, but it's personal affairs. But I'm not going
Yeah.
to slay you or do something to Miss Cunningham for personal gain. I wasn't like I
Well,
said.
that's not being political. That's being criminal.
Well, personal gain.
Of
It's
course,
like personal
sometimes
affairs.
Sometimes
that
it's
you,
the same thing. you know,
right,
so
but
you're
see,
right.
I don't jump on people's bandwagons. My father was a stand-up guy. I don't jump on people's band. If I believe in you, I'd be willing to die for you. And my coworkers and my friends, they understand that, you know. But getting back to the law enforcement, it opens up doors where you meet people, you know. And so I got into this thing with Freeman Hendricks.
Oh my man, I love
Yeah,
Freeman Hendricks.
I hadn't talked to him in a minute, but
you know, I
yeah.
voted for Kwame the first time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but then when I found out about the Navigator and some other stuff, I voted for Freeman the second time.
Right.
Freeman actually came and talked to me personally, you know, and he He was a stand-up guy. Is a stand-up guy.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
He's at Eastern Michigan University, I think, now doing teaching there.
Man, so I met him and took a liking to him for sure, and I thought that he would have been a good mayor, of course, a great mayor. So
I think wasn't he deputy mayor under Archer?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he was.
Yeah, so you know, that kind of started it, and you know, sometimes you and this is for young folks that we really, how do we make change? We make change by voting. Only the people can make change. So some of these political figures, and I'm not trying to be funny about it, but some of those political figures, it's a song and a dance, really, but they really don't always, you got to really love for the people. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I gravitate towards people that I feel that's going to do the right thing. I wouldn't care if you say, hey, I got $10 to run for a campaign. If I believe in you, I'm out there with you. So Freeman Hendricks came through. Of course, unfortunately, he didn't win. Then I jumped on the
Anthony Adams
campaign.
Anthony's
a good man. You know, he's been on this show.
Yes.
I don't know if he's going to run again.
I hope that he does.
He doesn't sound like it because it's next year, right? And
he's representing her, by the way, she's got a campaign going to
nursing homes.
Talk about that a little bit. Tell them about it.
Yeah, my father's been in the nursing home system for about 7 years.
Wow.
And I've been going to see him and care for him for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 94, and now he's been in this latest one for a month. But he was at one place, and they were just terrible, along with a few others. I always say a good nursing home is just okay.
Right.
That's the best you're going to get. So
Right.
he's in an okay nursing home now, and I talked to the state yesterday about his care so far, but he's only been at this one for a month. But he was at another one through the pandemic, and he was there for 3 years. And then everyone decides, if I'm making them work, that I need to leave. So he had bed sores and a sore on his heel that lasted from July to now.
Sores.
And his hair was matted after they said, well, you can't come anymore. Well, how can you tell me I can't come see my 94-year-old father and I'm the only one that's coming?
Wow.
So I've been, Anthony Adams is representing me, but he, I think, is so tired or filled up with things that we don't communicate as much as I would like to. But he told Dr. Telford that he is still working on it.
That's what he told me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want it to be 2 years after everybody say, well, it takes a while.
It does.
But if we're going to win, I'd like for my father to be able to participate in the win in terms of the things that we might receive. You know, he's 94.
Right.
But he's in decent health. He's the only one. Well, he only takes a couple of medications, but he has dementia. So I'm his guardian, and he does have a son, but his son is wrapped up. My brother is wrapped up in so many personal things of his own that he can't come and help. But I'm there every day, and everybody that has somebody in a nursing home needs to go. They need to help each other. It's usually only one person in the family that does all of that. But they gotta, even if you just go once a month or once a week or something, and let your family member know that I'm here, I'm there. And then when people know you're coming to look and see, then they do a little bit better.
You know what? And I for sure, and I'm.
Did any of your parents go?
I feel for that for sure, and he's in my prayers. My parents left early. They died early. But my experience in having 19 years in the military, you know, United States is the only country, and just to sway off of the conversation, just a tad bit, but it's relative to what you were saying, Ms. Cunningham. In other countries, children and the elderly are revered. Mm-hmm. The United States is the only country. You get old, they're going to throw you on the side, put you in a nursing home and all that. Right. And it shouldn't have to be that way. And, if we try to stay within the four corners of the Bible, and I'm not the most religious guy. I'm spiritual, but I tell you, I'm here and slanging and banging in the streets of the city of Detroit, not only just writing tickets, put myself in harm's way quite a few times. But what kept me really grounded, not saying I was perfect, but it's my spiritualness of appreciating God, of course. We can never take nothing for granted, John. Can't take life for
You
granted
start
like that.
taking something for granted, that's when you get in trouble.
That's right.
You can
You know.
say that in several venues. I mean,
Right.
if an athlete thinks he's always going to win before he even steps on the track,
Right.
there's somebody out there who's getting ready to take
Always
him down.
something, the spiritual thing.
Have you mentored any young people, especially
I
young
mentor them all the
men,
time, even grown-ups.
for being a cop?
Yes.
Okay.
I did, and I want to start a nonprofit eventually. I'm working with Al Prophet. You know, he's American Dope. He has a pretty big following of American Dope, and he's telling about the life and times of a Detroit undercover at one time. But of course, I'm not undercover anymore. But I have some stories
You ever think
to
of writing a
tell.
book?
Yeah, yeah, the life and times of a Detroit undercover.
See, I've written a lot of books. I wrote this book, Poetic Prancings of Mad John, but most of my books are not poetry books. I wrote an autobiography, and I've written, books on education. But you have a past that would interest a lot of people.
Oh yeah. You wouldn't be. I have a quite a few stories, doozies. One thing for sure, John. I'll tell you this, and folks know it, that the police is privy to everything that goes on into your home.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this. Can I tell you this story?
Sure.
It's
Go
an
ahead. That's what
interesting
you're here
world.
for.
When I was a patrolman on the east side of Detroit, I worked at the 9th Precinct. The Gratiot and Gunston, that's one of the worst, used to be one of the worst in the country.
Yeah, it's
seriously.
in Denby neighborhood.
And it's a
It used to be
it's a
the Denby
big
neighborhood.
precinct, maybe 16 square
Yeah,
miles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was a patrolman, and we were called for domestic violence run, right? And that's the majority of the calls. Still to
Yeah.
this day, domestic violence.
Yeah.
Do you know, beautiful home on East-
Domestic. They should hang all of those men that do that. They just hang.
Well,
And-
Miss Cunning, you're right, but it's women
But-
too now.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
I
so
know
he-
one
she-
right now.
right.
She's 24, and in a minute she'll go up. But that's like a kid hitting you,
Yeah.
unless they hit
You
you
know,
with a
so-
fry pan that's hot. you
Right,
know.
so it's a big thing now about domestic. Always have been, right?
You were going to tell a story.
Oh,
about
the
what
story.
happened
So
in
we
the
had
precinct.
So we I was a patrolman. We went to the run on the east side of the drive. Beautiful home, right?
Oh yeah.
And the woman, she was very irate. I'm screaming and hollering and all this, that that, and other and stuff like that. It was an afternoon,
Yeah.
and the guy, they were professionals. The guy, he was a executive at one of the big three, right?
Woo.
Beautiful guy, handsome guy, built like Superman.
Yeah.
So we go in there, we talking. She's irate. Oh, get him out of here! Get him! I just want him out of here. He's just SOBs and all this type of stuff. And he said, "Man, she's crazy." But hold on. I said, "Well, ma'am, what's the problem?" She said, "Officer, you really don't know this guy." No, I don't. I said, "But what did he do? Did he hit you?" No, I just want him out of there. I said, "But why, ma'am? Don't, please. I ain't got time. Don't. Oh, well, just come. I didn't need for you to. I want to show you something." I said, come on, don't waste my time. She said, I got to, you got to look at this. She takes me upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I said, well, ma'am, look, don't play. This is bedroom. She said, no, lean on that door, lean on the wall. I said, come on, I don't have time to play games like that. She said, just lean on that wall.
Yeah.
So I leaned on the wall, John. It was revolving door to the wall. Listen, I saw wigs and stockings and pantyhose and high heels.
He was a transvestite.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. But hold on.
Yeah.
Wow.
By day,
By day.
Mr.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
Yeah.
By night, a cross-dresser.
Oh boy.
But she didn't know it. She just discovered she'd been married to that guy for 20 years.
Boy, it took her that long to find that out.
Only you know who you are, John, in your private life.
That's an interesting
Yes.
story, GQ.
Yes.
It's
He was a cross-dresser. And when I had to tell him, I said, man, you ought to be ashamed of
Okay, based on that, Doc, let me ask him my question. They're trying to get me to. I've been thinking about writing this book, and so they keep the writers keep saying, go
Oh
ahead
yeah,
and do
she's
it.
got a great idea
So-
for a book. Great
So
idea.
Dating After 50 is the name of the book. So do you have a little mini episode that it doesn't have to be you, it could be somebody you know. How is dating after 50 different than dating in your 20s?
Oh, well, you set in your ways. You know, most of us kind of set in our ways a lot, and for sure, from women, from what I hear, not as so energetic in things. From what women at my age, what they tell me, you know, they're not so eager to do things.
You want a companion more than a husband or a wife.
Yeah, pretty
But-
much. You know.
Do they need to have the same things you like to do, or are you interested in learning different things here and there, or is the money an issue? What, you have an episode of Dating After 50?
Well, yeah, you know, I think a lot of well, I'm single. I don't have any children, so I mean, never been married, you know, and the job had a lot to do with that too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, you know, and marriage, I'm for
Well, that-
marriage, but I never.
Well, that makes Dating After 50 easy for you.
Yeah, right. So I'm very rare. It's not too many 50-year-olds that haven't been married and divorced and children and all that stuff. And my father would always tell us, you know, my brothers, I have 3 brothers, and
Okay.
none of us have any, well, one is married, but the rest are without any children, single. But I just didn't want to
So
mix
you
up
got a
my
lot
family.
of nephews and nieces.
No,
No?
only 2.
Two?
A
Okay.
nephew and a niece.
Nephew
But I had
and
3
niece.
brothers though. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, but yeah, it's rough for on females though. You know, because you know, and oftentimes we're 50, but we want to have our cake and eat it too a little bit more, you know.
Also,
And-
we die. A lot of us die. So
Yeah,
there
right.
are fewer of us than there are of
Right,
the ladies.
ladies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and lifestyles can be a little bit different. And cops, we have a tendency that we don't live that long after we retire because of the stress level. But a lot of that too, we high in divorce rate, high in alcohol, high in suicides.
Yeah.
But just getting back to that piece of what you're talking about, dating after 50, I think is rough. I think it's really rough for women because you meet the misrepresentatives oftentimes with guys, you know, and if a guy have been married and been divorced, you know, some of us think that we're 20 still. And
I have a church member that just recently got married, and he said,
Speak
well,
up a little bit.
we're
Oh, yeah. Got it.
I have a
Got it.
church member that was recently married, maybe a month ago, and he said that basically, we were just having a discussion before that, and he said, basically, we need 2 things. Food was one of them, and
Right.
you know what the other one is.
Right,
I
right.
said, what? I said, is that all you guys want? But then I've seen different reasons why.
Mhm.
So a lot of different reasons that you don't even think about that being a reason why they would want.
You know what? This stuff, I think, in the day and age, of course, with you have women are not like our mothers, the traditional woman, and of course, you know.
Okay, we are here with GQ
Like that.
and Dr. John Telford, and we're getting ready to close out, Doc. We just went on and on.
We getting ready to close out?
Yep, it's 10:49.
Oh, okay. How much time I got?
Just as much as you can squeeze in. Just talk.
Okay. Well, I
You might
I
have a
wanna-
minute.
I want to ask one last question of GQ. I want to ask him, you know, what does he want to see in our next mayor?
You know what? I really would like to see someone that really loves the people. That means a lot to me. I don't traditional. My ideals are like in come from our parents, right? Being a Democrat or a Republican. I really don't care nothing about that no more. I really don't. It doesn't really affect me.
Yes, it does.
Well,
Vote
hold on,
Democratic.
hold
Vote
on, John.
Democratic.
Hold on, John. Your
We gotta make
belief
sure Trump doesn't get in
is
there.
your beliefs is your beliefs, but I'm talking about you
Okay,
have
okay.
to
I'm sorry for
appreciate the
interrupting you,
people,
but
though.
had
I
to
mean,
say
just
that.
have to appreciate the people.
Okay.
Because
okay.
see, having been on welfare when I was growing up, ADC they used to call it, Aid Dependent Children.
I remember.
I'm not on welfare. I got my butt up every day and served my country and been a public servant. right?
Yeah.
So a lot of things don't affect me like that.
So
You know
what
I
are
mean?
you looking for in a mayor? Say what you're looking for.
Someone that's going to do the right thing, that loves the people,
Okay.
and work within the four corners of that good book. Not your good book, but the good book.
Mm-hmm.
It means something.